Hi, I'm Sandy Schroeck for LBR Educates, and today is part of our Design 101 series where we're going to be talking about is stem insertions. The number one thing that you can use to affect the lasting quality of your flowers is the quality of the stem insertion that you put into the foam. So we're going to be designing in foam today. I'm using Oasis Max Life floral foam that is 75% biodegradable in a landfill within a year. It does continue to biodegrade, but today we're using actually the midnight foam. So you can see I have a black container. I'm also using the midnight foam, and then I'm just going to alter the top a little bit to just give it kind of a textural finish and smooth out those edges. And that way I don't have a lot of mechanics to hide. One of the reasons I like to design in foam is the control that I get, the control placement. So I can have each flower have its own space, have the ability for it to mature and utilize the lines and forms of the materials to really accentuate the design. So let's get started. Number one, what we want to think about is if a customer doesn't add any water to this container, of course it's going to continue to go down. And also gravity pull that water down to the base of the foam as well. So our target area for our stem insertions is going to be within 1 inch of the bottom of the container. Even in glassware, you want to have your stems go all the way to the bottom. So in order to accomplish that, what we're going to do as a beginning designer really is bring your container to the edge of the table, and then you can hold your flower to the side here. And I'm just going to show you, for example, here, if this was the edge of my container, so I'm going to come down and I'm going to take a look at where my target zone is for that insertion, and I'm going to mark it with my finger. And so I just look here, and then I come, and then I'll come and do a cut. So you can utilize a knife for a cut or a bunch cutter. The one thing you need to make sure on the bunch cutter is that it does not crush the stem when you cut. So my preferred method is actually a knife. I utilize a knife and have it in my hand at all times. So I'm not putting it down and picking it up. But you can see here, I can judge from the side of the table that how long we want to make that stem. So we're going to go in with a nice deep insertion. As you're putting your florals in, what you want to do is potentially walk your fingers up. So we're going to come in here, and I'm going to bring my fingers to the foam surface and then walk that stem down in a little bit at a time to really be able to know that that stem is down in the foam well, and a nice good insertion that's going to take up the maximum amount of water. So today we're using some of the Pomponi gerbs, and that's a gerb that we grow here at Lembush Roses, and has that high petal count, very dahlia-like, and you'll see by the choices of the material that I have a variety of textures. One of the easy things to do to utilize is Fatsia as a fast and quick green. So actually I should have put this in first, but I wanted you to see the stem insertions. But you can see how those two pieces will come in, cover my surface, and then I could poke through flowers on that. On my other piece here, I've actually taken the sago palm and altered this. But to be able to do this fast, what I've done is kind of gone back and forth on here. If you do a circular cut, sometimes it takes a lot longer and you have to be a lot more precise. So I've found going back and forth like that gives an interesting surface, and then you're also able to utilize some of these materials and put those in foam as well. But you can see here that I created 2 of those palm structures that I've just brought into this container here to utilize that similar surface. So now you can see each flower has its own area and space to mature and spaces between the flowers, and then we'll come in and add some of the other elements. So we've got formed flowers that are in the Alstrom area and in the Scabiosa, some basic floral materials with the carnations and chrysanthemum, and then adding a textural element coming in with the hypericum. So as you choose your materials, you want a variety of materials and a variety of colors on here. So you saw the repetition. I had 2s and 2s, but actually on this Alstro that we have, if I use 2 of these, they almost become too dominant. And so I actually am just going to use 1 of those and come in with that into this area here. And so there you can see that it kind of stair steps down with the other pieces. And then I'm going to use an additional component that's in that same color range to do some of my basing to bring that down. But you do want to think about the dominance of colors and the sizes of the floral materials that you're putting together. The colors are also, you can add more dominance. And here you see the lighter color in the yellow is one that it really attracts the eye. And so the darker colors are a little bit larger, but this is going to be your area of dominance here. And if I just had those in, I'm gonna add in a couple of the chrysanthemums. So altering the appearance a little bit, and just by doing a cutout there, I'm able to create a little bit more of a line flower from that. And then utilize a couple as basing, but bringing those floral materials back and forth. And then we're gonna bring in a couple of the carns, just coming in as a finishing basing technique. And these I'm poking right through that Fatsia leaf. We're gonna do them in a grouping. You can rip the calyx of a carnation and not decrease the life of the flower, but to just get a little bit more coverage down. And let's move this one over just a touch. We're gonna utilize those 3 together to kind of become one component, so that you don't see the individual flowers on those, but more as a grouping. Got a couple form flowers coming in with the Scabiosa, but you can see that I'm able to make a statement design with not a lot of floral materials. I want this to have its own space, just by coming in so you can see that this can have its own territory to go into. So I'm able to add that negative space between the components. And so you see the different color ranges and how that comes together. And then we're just gonna pop in a little bit of that textural element coming in with the green. So you can see each flower has a face, and by utilizing the foam and nice deep insertions, the different materials that have different lasting ability, I'm able to create a great design, with not a lot of floral materials, but with a lot of visual interest. We know this arrangement lasts as long as the last bloom that dies. So you want to have a mix of the different floral materials, from the long-lasting carns and chrysanthemums to some of the visually interesting flowers. I'm Sandy Schroeck with LBR Educates, and I hope I've inspired you to create some fabulous florals.